It was a terrible winter. The devastated landscape looked terrible in its true colours: clay, mud, and broken brick. But when it was covered with snow, it was beautiful. And we heard the Germans singing, "Silent night, holy night." And they put up a notice saying, "Merry Christmas." So we put one up too. While they were singing, our boys said, "Let's join in." So we joined in, and when we started singing, they stopped. And when we stopped, they started again. So we were easing the way. Then one German took a chance and jumped up on top of the trench and shouted, "Happy Christmas, Tommy." So our boys said, "Well, if he can do it, we can do it." And we all jumped up. A sergeant major shouted, "Get down there, get down there." But we all said, "Ah, shut up, Sergeant, it's Christmas time." And with that, we all jumped up, and the Germans beckoned us forward to the barbed wire. We never said a word about the war to the Germans. We spoke about our families, about how old we were, how long we thought it would last. Most of the boys stayed there the whole day, only came back in the evening. There were no shots fired. It was good to walk around. Private Frank Sumter of the London Rifle Brigade.
Our regiment, the 133rd Saxons and the Seaforth Highlanders, were face to face. They were 100 or so meters in front of us in their trenches. As we discovered, like us, they were up to their knees in mud. The night of Christmas Eve was crystal clear and quiet. Our people had placed a fir tree with burning lights above the trenches, and the English started shooting under the impression it was a trick. Once they realized it was a Christmas tree, they ceased firing. After that, not a single shot was heard all night. They even started singing Christmas songs over their side. The next day, my duty officer rushed into the dugout and announced that friend and foe were outside together, moving between the trenches. A glance over their side, and it looked like all our Christmases had come at once. Was peace suddenly supposed to have broken out? What was to be done? After a brief pause for thought, I and everyone else ran to join in. People everywhere were shaking hands. Opposite us were Scotsmen. Everyone swapped anything they had: tobacco, chocolate, spirits, and more besides. There were joyous scenes everywhere. Then one Scotsman dragged along a football. A proper football match began to evolve, with caps laid down for goals. It was far from easy to play on the frozen ground, but we continued, keeping rigorously to the rules, despite the fact that it only lasted an hour and that we had no referee. A great many of the passes went wide, but all the amateur footballers, although they must have been very tired, played with huge enthusiasm. Us Germans really roared when a gust of wind revealed the Scotsmen wore no underwear under their kilts, and hooted and whistled every time they caught a glimpse of a posterior belonging to one of yesterday's enemies. But after an hour, when our commanding officer heard about it, he sent an order that we must put a stop to it. A little later, we drifted back to our trenches, and the fraternization ended. The game finished with a score of 3-2 in favor of Fritz against Tommy. Lieutenant Johannes Niemand, 133rd Royal Saxon Regiment.
I've shown a report from one section of how, on Christmas Day, a friendly gathering had taken place of Germans and British on the neutral ground between the two lines, recounting that many officers had taken part in it. This is only illustrative of the apathetic state we are gradually sinking into, apart also from illustrating that any orders I issue on the subject are useless, for I have issued the strictest orders that on no account is socializing to be allowed between opposing troops. I'm calling as to particulars of names of officers and units who took part in this Christmas gathering with a view to disciplinary action. This memorandum was issued to British officers by General Sir Horace Smith-Dorrien after he heard reports of the Christmas truce.